Hey guys, good morning, or whenever you're listening to me, afternoon, evening, night. Uh, Today is Monday, October the 6th. Let's get this party started, our spiritual party. Um, how's everybody doing? I I know that a lot of you are doing like okay, a lot of you are not doing okay. Going by the comments that I receive. As you know, I read them all. Um, I may not make it to comment on all, although I do try, but I read them all. And it's interesting times for sure. Just wanted to say a couple people, actually, there were two of you that said, look, can you keep that waterfall picture up there? It's so soothing. So what I did, because I can't keep it up, because you know me, I like to keep them going, keep them switching, depending on what type of mood I'm in. Like today, I've got my beautiful lotus eternal flame picture up, but there is the waterfall right there. So you should still be able to see that. Someone said it really soothed them. And so I just wanted to kind of honor that. Okay, so what's going on? You know, I told you guys months ago that things would pick up exponentially with violence. The protests would become more and more. Um, and I did tell you, I was very honest that, the violence would definitely come. And I'm going to be really, really frank with you guys. Although we're seeing still a lot of violence, I see it just increasing even more. Okay? History does not repeat itself necessarily. What it will do is put in the same lessons, okay, that we need to grasp as a whole, consciousness wise, okay? So there will be sets of circumstances that look like sort of repeats, okay? But they're not necessarily going to repeat in the exact same way, okay? History doesn't really do that. It will, and when I say history, I do mean the universe, okay? But what it will do, it will gather together um, the situations needed to move consciousness, okay, forward, okay? And considering we're dealing with billions of souls, it has to be done in ways that are slow enough for us to grasp, yet poignant enough for us to feel. Okay? So we think that, oh my gosh, we're seeing the exact same set of circumstances. History is just going to repeat itself. No, what you're seeing is circumstances being gathered together in a certain way, in a certain energy type of path, in order to have us get those major lessons that we needed to get. Okay? And many do get them, but many don't. Okay? And so for those that especially don't get them, they're getting like the refresher course. Okay? And yes, a lot of us get caught up in that refresher course. We've already grasped the lessons or already knew the growth that was needed and thus didn't need the lesson. And so that is why I tell you and have been telling you guys to observe but don't absorb. And that's kind of been my mantra for a minute now, right? Observe but don't absorb. And the reason is because things are sort of repeating some of those outlying lessons for those that didn't get them. Okay? And yes, this GAZA situation is horrific, as there are many other horrific situations going on in this world. Okay? Um, the people that really need to learn from this are the ones that are truly being directly affected by this. Okay? I've told you guys several times we don't know, nor can we see all the karmic obligations that people are coming to rectify, balance, resolve. We don't know all that information. All we're doing is just seeing things from one perspective. Okay? Now, once again, yes, since we know that we are all one, most of us sane, loving folks do feel a deep sense of compassion and righteous anger about all that's going on. And that's a beautiful thing. Okay, that's a beautiful thing. We're supposed to feel that because we are all one. But once again, we observe but don't absorb, help when we can, and when guided to do so. If you're guided to help in some way or another, okay, by all means do it. I will say this. I know for a fact that Greta Thunberg her actions are karmic driven. And when I say that, I mean that she is working out some karmic obligation that she is carrying and fulfilling her karmic purpose now. And I applaud her for having the courage to fulfill her purpose because it's obviously not an easy one. And we don't know exactly what she's fulfilling. We don't know why she's put herself in this circumstance as she has. Okay? But she has. She is fulfilling a karmic obligation that is extremely important to her spirit. And she has every bit of my love, as she has the love of many others in supporting her. And you guys had asked me about the flotilla last time, and I told you in the prior video that they would be released, and most of them have been released since then. There's just a few left. I understand that they will be returned today on a flight to Athens, which includes Greta and the grandson of Mandela. He also, if I'm not mistaken, he will be returned today. So yes, the Nation of I, you know, they are purposely doing things that are just blatantly cruel and inhumane all across the spectrum. And it's amazing to me how they don't think that those energies somehow will come back to them. And unfortunately, they that nation does have a lot of support amongst its own people, and there is going to be further violence against them um, throughout the world, not just not just in the United States. It will be throughout the world. Um, and we'll see more and more of that coming. There was that one situation, I believe, in Germany, um, where a synagogue was set on fire or bombed or whatever. You're going to see more of that against the J people as time moves on. Um, it is unfortunate looking at it from an overall aspect, um, but it is the way that it is just going to play out, and it has to play out. People have to be brought to understand certain things, and so when I talked about history repeating itself, because many didn't get it, there are many that still are not getting it, even with all that's going on, still haven't gotten it. Okay, so um, and by the way, it was announced on October 4th that when Greta would be. I remember I gave you guys two dates, the 4th and the 11th. More focuses on the 11th, but I was given the 4th also. It was announced on the 4th when she would be released, how she would be released. She would be deported from Israel, and she's going to leave today, the 6th. Okay, and there's also a new wave, apparently, of boats going to GAZA. Now, also, I just wanted to say, watch how divine love works in this situation. By all those flotillas bringing aid into GAZA and getting intercepted by all those forces, right? The the people of GAZA were able to fish for the first time in 2 years. And did you see the number of fish they were able to catch? It was a beautiful thing. I must have watched several videos over and over and over. I was just celebrating with them. They were so happy. These people will be able to eat for quite a while, especially if the fish is stored right. But, that is divine love peeking through any way it can. Okay? And it was just amazing. So, yeah, their aid was stopped on one sense, but in the other sense, something else came through. And it's awesome. You got to go check out their glee in being able to fish and catch all those fish um, all up and down the coast. Okay? And we know fish is extremely healthy, tons of protein, but other type of nutrients it has. Okay? It should be considered a superfood if it's not already. Okay? Because the nutrients that are packed in fish, it's amazing. So, and also, another thing is it has a lot of oils, omega type oils, right? These people have been without basic like water, that type of thing, and that omega will kind of trap and store any water that they have, and you know, fortify them also that way. So all around it's just a good thing. So I'm very happy about that. Um, as for history repeating itself with this government, no, it's not going to get to where um, it is a real repeat of 1940s Germany. Okay, it's not. It's not. It seems like it's getting close, but it's just not. It's not going to go there. Um, Japan has elected its first female prime minister, and she is a trailblazer in one sense that she's the first female. Unfortunately, she is a self proclaimed fascist. Okay? Almost as soon as I saw her, before I even knew that she was a fascist, I saw that she will not only be in that position long, but she probably needs to watch out for some form of violence against her. She is going to be strongly rebuked, and she will not last in that position. Okay. Let's see. The FBI agent who was tasked with perp walking Comey, arresting him, walking him through the halls of the FBI, refused to do it. That guy's got some courage, okay? He was fired on the spot. He just refused to do it and was fired. And apparently he's fine with that. He knew that would happen. So good for him. I told you guys this was back in December. And if you go back to my video in December, videos where I was talking about P. Diddy, I said that I didn't necessarily see him ever leaving prison. I said that he would have some type of come to moment at some point while he was in there, and may even decide that he doesn't want to live anymore. But I just didn't ever see him leaving prison. Well, he thought that he was going to be released the other day. Come to find out, he's got 4 years he's got to do. I think it's going to be an extremely long 4 years. Not only that, I'm not sure if he's just going to leave after that. I also said in one of the videos, I said he would totally transform. He would be unrecognizable. Apparently, he's already kind of unrecognizable in a sense. For those that have seen him, if you notice, they've been very limited about the images that they've released of him. I have not seen an image of him, but I've heard that he's aged quite a bit. So, but I'm just gonna still stick to what I saw, that I don't see him ever leaving. I just don't. So we shall see. We shall see. Okay. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. My prediction on that months ago was that he would eventually at some point be free, but there was going to be a lot of shenanigans against him, but also his lawyers were going to be able to pull tricks out of the hat for him. And sure enough, they have, in a sense, done that with him being sent back here. Because remember, he was never supposed to come back. And I told you guys then he would eventually return here. And I do see him eventually being free. But And then it was, he was out, and then he was put right back in, and then threatened to Uganda. Well, now to be deported to Uganda. Well, that was halted thanks to his great lawyers. And now a judge has ruled that there needs to be a hearing on whether he was vindictively targeted. Okay, so it's like a lot of this type of stuff is going on, but this guy has been through a lot, an awful lot. Okay, a lot. Let's see. Somali. They formally banned child marriage. If you don't know, Somali allows child marriages, and it's very common in their culture to marry young girls. It's sickening, but history, the universe kind of stepped in, and their parliament actually just made child marriage illegal. Now, which is a step in the right direction, don't get me wrong. Um, However, they also said they would not enforce it. Okay? But it's on the books. It is on the books now. Whereas before it wasn't even on the books. So that is a step in the right direction. Okay? There was a video that went viral of a Somalian guy. I won't call him a gentleman. He's crying because the law went, into effect. The law was established, and he's, just on there bawling his eyes out and tearing up because how could they do this to us and to them? But anyway, um, this is definitely a step in the right direction because at least it is now on the books. And it will take more courageous people at some point to actually start enforcing it. Okay? But I personally am happy that at least it is on the books now that it's illegal. Okay? It's against the law technically for child marriage, even if it's not being enforced right now. Okay? We'll take whatever wins we can get when we can get them. All right, so let's see. There was another mass shooting at Alabama State Fair. Quite a few people were affected. That comes off the heels of the four mass shootings we had the week before. Um, Republicans still aren't at the point where they really care. Only when it affects either them directly, one of their own. Otherwise, you know, lives are expendable to them. And that too, fortunately, will change. Down the line, we do need more effective gun control regulations. That's not snatching guns away from everyone. It is just more stricter regulations on guns. Um, and when Republicans start really being pro life, because they never have been, they've never, not since I've been alive, have they ever been pro life. They are just anti abortion. That's what they are. They've never been pro life, ever. Okay? They are not the pro life party. You can't support the death penalty, hunting, um, you know, gun free for alls, and ignore mass shootings and call yourself pro life. You just can't. You just can't do it. You can try to fool yourself, but you can't. So they've never been the party of pro life, they just are anti abortion. But eventually they will come to value actual life. And I know that doesn't apply to all Republicans blanketly, okay? But the ones that Republicans keep electing, that applies to them. All right? So just to clarify, there are some Republican people out there that actually do give a F about life, but they're not the ones that are elected. Okay? That's a fact because they do nothing about it. Nothing. So, a lot of people have asked about the shutdown. And from just the beginning of them even threatening one, I just didn't see it would be long. And I still don't, okay? So I'll put that out there. I think that what is going to happen, or what I kind of see happening, is there is going to be some type of reason, and we may not even hear about it, but they have to convene, okay? And yes, the congresswoman will be eventually sworn in. And I think by next week, and I'm wondering if the 11th has something to do with that, because they didn't give me specifics on the 11th date. Like, they'll give me specifics on a lot of things, but they necessarily won't associate a date with it. But then sometimes they just give me a date and they won't give me anything around it. But I'm just wondering if, let's see when the 11th is. Okay, the 11th is Saturday. So I'm wondering if something's going to happen Saturday that they're going to need to bring Congress back, um, and start back the government. It's going to be like, they're going to have to do it, but they're going to kind of take credit. Republicans are going to take credit for doing it some kind of way. Uh, when in actuality they're kind of being forced to do it, type of thing. Um, I know that sounds weird, but that's just kind of what I'm getting. So it's not going to be a long shutdown. I don't see it. I don't see it dragging on and on. I really don't. Um, there's there's something that's going to happen, something that's going to force them. I'll say that's what I'm getting. Force them to bring it back. And I actually have immediate family that's affected by the shutdown. Okay, but um, yeah, that's what I'm getting. Um, Something else I wanted to say, because of my uh, baseball prediction. I told you guys that I saw the blue cap first, and then I saw off to the side the red cap. And so a lot of you, including some of my own family, are like, "Well, what's blue? Well, there's a couple teams that have a blue cap." Okay, so let me clarify. I don't know what team name is associated with the blue cap, but I will say it's a more of a royal blue. It's not a dark blue. It's more of a royal blue. I saw, like, um, not super dark. Uh, let's see. And it could be that the um, the red cap I saw to the side was actually um, who they win against in the final game. Okay, Because, like I said, I saw the blue cap first and then the red cap to the side, but not prominent as I saw the blue cap. Okay. I hope that clarifies things. And I understand that people make bets on those type of things. And so I get it. I truly get it. Um, and, I mean, don't, you know, how can I say this? Yeah, my predictions pretty good when it comes to the sports teams and what's going to happen. But I mean, don't come after me if it doesn't come out. Okay, you do it for entertainment purposes only. You're doing it at your own risk type thing. But you guys were really funny. You cracked me up. You're like, well, what shade blue was it? And is it this team? And is it that team? Like I said, even some of my own family. So, which I just thought it was hilarious. I really do. I don't even know at what stage they're in the playoffs at. Like, is it the beginning? Is it near the end? Is it? I don't even know. I don't follow baseball at all. I can barely follow football because my nerves just get too bad. You know, um, I'm one of those all in type people. Like if I'm watching the game, even if I know, like I knew the Eagles were going to win the Super Bowl. I told you guys that, right? But watching the game, I was having like 100 different heart attacks all over the place. There was no reason for that. I already knew who was going to win, so why did I even put myself through that? But I did. Okay, so you know, I don't I don't try to do sports. I really don't. I'm one of those all in, scream the loudest. Take it as a personal affront. Um, and at one point, my husband wouldn't even watch any sports with me because I was just so like super duper competitive about things. I mean, you're talking to a woman here who used to cheat with her son and his friends playing them Candyland. Okay, like seriously. I mean, am I ashamed of that? Yeah, of course I am. Absolutely. I cheated because they were just so boisterous and they just had to beat me. So to hell with that. I whipped up on those 6 and 7 years old playing them Candyland. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Okay, you know. But seriously though, that is I just get way too involved. So I don't need to really. Uh, I don't really need to be involved with sports, and I try not to be. Okay. It's just best not to. So, for those out there that are into this playoffs and are going to make some bets, that's that's my input. Take it or leave it, whatever. Okay. Um. So something along the spiritual nature that I kind of want to delve into here for a bit, and it's kind of online with my Candyland cheating. Um. By the way, hopefully my son doesn't see that because he'll probably think, "Damn, no wonder we never won." Um, no, but if they hadn't have been so obnoxious about winning, then I wouldn't have had to cheat. Okay. Anyway, um, you know, the truth of the matter is, so many people go around um, thinking they have to act a certain way. Um, do things a certain way. Um, abide by this, abide by that. Okay. Spirit doesn't give a F about none of that human type of restriction that we put on ourselves. It truly does not. Okay. As long as we move and act with integrity. And when I say integrity, I mean with love, with a purity of intention. Spirit doesn't give a F if what we do is screaming and yelling. Okay? Um, if what we're doing is literally cussing someone out, okay? Are we doing it with an intention of integrity and love behind it? Spirit doesn't give four F's about the cussing that went along with it. Okay? What spirit, the universe, and our guides, and our higher selves, our spiritual selves register is the purity of our intention. That's all that gets registered. Okay? Now, I just had a thought. This happened many years ago, but this is how I know because I've completely forgotten about this and that I even did this, but they just put it into my thought. I'm driving down the street and I see, and it's right next to a school, okay? And on the sidewalk, and there's a school here, there's a huge tall gate, and I see a bunch of teens, but as I'm looking closer, and I'm driving a little closer, this is when my eyesight was pretty good, and I didn't need to wear glasses all the time, but I see there's one teen in like the middle, right? And there's like one, two, three, four. There's like five teens around him, but there's one guy that's digging into this teen's pockets. Okay, and then they moved. Somehow the kid was like trying to push him back and whatnot, and they moved out into the street. And so here I come. I'm driving, right, and this was so orchestrated behind the scenes, it wasn't even funny. I registered what was going on. I said, this teen is getting robbed. I drove right up because by this time they had kind of spilled out into the street. Drove right up, drove just enough to where my car tapped a couple of those teens. And I did that purposely. It wasn't even enough for them to, just that. But I wasn't trying to run them over or anything, trying to truly get their attention. And I put the window down and I shouted some kind of name. And I said, if you don't get your ass in this car, your mother is looking for you. And it stopped everything they were doing. I said, get over here. And the poor kid that was getting robbed, he looked like really confused, but he did what I said. I said, get your ass in this car. And he jumps in the car. I was shocked they let him. And then he jumps in the car. He barely closed the door, and they started banging on the roof of my car. And I took off anyway. And one of them did fall over or something. Who cares? My intention, okay, was to save that kid from getting robbed, which he was. And I don't know what else they would have done to him, okay? and not to hurt any of those other kids, which I basically didn't. And we got away. By the way, the poor kid, he was shaking when he was in my car. I drove down and made a turn, and um, I said, "They were robbing you, weren't they?" He said, "Yes." He said, thank you so much." I said, "Where do you live?" And he told me, and I took him home and stuff, dropped him off at his house, and good thing they turned out they never got anything. Okay, but that is an example of having to do something sometimes that may not be in the most conventional way, may not be the best, but my intention and the intention was pure. That's what registers to spirit. And I am so sure many of you have had your moments where you just had to tell someone what you thought, what you felt, what was right, and it may have come out as angry, it may have come out as a little boisterous, it may have come out a little whatever, okay? But your intention behind it was pure. It was loving. It's like sometimes when we have to cuss at our kids, right? We've just got to go there. Look, I have one son and three stepsons. Trust me, I've had to do it several times. Okay? And with all of them, it's always been out of love. It may have gotten ugly sometimes. Okay? It may have. But always it was done out of love and purity. And when we do things out of integrity, spiritual love, spiritual purity, guess what? That's what registers. And that is what can move a situation, change a situation, resolve a situation, etc. Okay, so someone obviously needs to hear that. We're not going to always be sweet Janes or perfect Patties. We're just not. But if we're acting out of that love, that integrity, that purity throughout our lives, we bring so much more of that spiritual essence into our life. And it will be in visible ways, ways that we can actually see. Okay? Sort of like, you every week you put $20 in the bank and you don't think about it, and then months later you realize, oh, phew, damn, I got some money here. Wow. Okay? The interest you build on doing things with integrity, with love. Love is palpable energy. It truly is. It is energy, and just because you can't always see it doesn't mean it's not real. It's not there. It's more real than you sitting there watching me. It's more real than that. Moving, acting, thinking with that spiritual love, that spiritual integrity, that purity can move and shift your life in ways that you cannot imagine. because that flow of love is always flowing. That train of love, it's always going down the tracks, okay? And sometimes we step off of that train, right? We do. We do. I do. We step off of that train, but we can always board the train at any point that we want to. Just by switching our intentions, our focus back to spiritual integrity, spiritual love. One of the greatest secrets, okay, kept, and one of the best lies perpetrated on humanity by those who think that they're in power is that we have real power here, and you know, we control things here, okay? And this basically is it. So whatever you do here is all that matters, okay? And that's just a flat out lie. The true power is really in what we can't see, and that is love, divine love. And we have been so taught to either ignore it or not even be aware of its existence. But I'm going to tell you something. I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it. It is more real than anything that you know. It is true reality. And there's no one and nothing that could ever convince me otherwise. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've felt it. And I've had the honor to not only know about it, but to live it. Live it. Be able to know about it enough to live it. And you can weave that understanding into your day-to-day life. And it can, in many cases, ease your life or help you to understand why certain things are going on or to lessen the effects of things that happen. No one walks around day to day in a human form unless you're strictly on drugs, blissful all the time, right? That bliss is just really a falsehood, because here in human form, we can't experience that bliss all the time. However, you can come to a point in your understanding and in your excuse me, and in how you process your specific individual life with that understanding to achieve some measure of that happiness. Because although you're going through certain things, you're acting and understanding and going through them with that lens of love, that lens of integrity, that lens of purity, which allows you to see things in a whole different way, in a whole different scope. Sit with that. Sit with that. And if that resonates with you, allow it to become a part of your inner core. And it can truly not only rewire your thinking, but allow you to see your life from more than just one perspective, one way. We are truly not at the mercy of our humanness. We are literally here to use as much of those spiritual treasures, which are so simple. There's nothing complicated about them. Use them throughout our day to day living. Stuff's still going to happen. It's still going to happen. Okay? But the way we act when they happen, the way we see what's really going on when they happen, can change and become almost magnificent. There is absolutely nothing, nothing that I learned through my near death experience that you cannot experience. You may not see the exact same things I saw, but that understanding of how the universe works, which is so simple, that is yours, everyone's, to understand. Okay? And maybe, maybe I'm a, you know, a little bit, I'm good for a little bit more than just maybe cheating my son at Candyland or, playing the slots in the casino. Uh, Maybe that could be my one of my purposes, to tell you and to try to help you to understand what already is in here. And you don't need a PhD for it. You don't need any special nothing for it. It's there. Love is constantly pulsing, whether you're aware of it or not. A lot of people want to be aware of it, but a lot don't, right? But it's there. It is there. All right, so I am going to end that today, but I thank you all for checking in, for listening. We shall be together again soon. And take care, everyone. Take care. And thank you.